Kroger Delivery has one mission: to deliver the freshest food right to your door. That's why our drivers are pros. Our trucks are refrigerated. And when it comes to low prices, we always deliver. With $20 off your first order of $75 or more, there's no better time to get in on the action. Mission accomplished. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/campaign to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Carriers have honestly been life-saving for me on my motherhood journey. But I know when you start looking into a carrier to purchase, it can lead you down a path of overwhelming confusion. This week, I am joined by Tatum from Ergobaby.
Baby wearing has so many benefits, it's actually difficult to know where to start. So if you start from the very beginning, carrying is a very normal behavior within the human species.
My boys, whenever they've been, upset, had funny tummies, needed that little bit of extra TLC, the comfort of just being placed on you and then secured so they're comfortable.
Obviously, baby wearing safety it's incredibly important, and we need to make sure we're carrying properly. And most of the carriers you find, they will be safe. It's just about how you wear them.
Hello, I'm Pip, and welcome to the Midwife Pip podcast, the home of expert information and real chats on all things pregnancy, birth, and beyond. Carriers have honestly been life-saving for me on my motherhood journey and are hands down a non-negotiable essential in my life. But I know when you start looking into a carrier to purchase, it can lead you down a path of overwhelming confusion because there are so many different types to choose from. So this week, I am joined by Tatum from Ergobaby, mum to 2 wild boys, content and community lead at Ergobaby UK and Europe, a trained baby-wearing peer supporter who is passionate about empowering parents. We're going to break through some of the baby carrier noise and simplify the different types out there and the important features for you to consider when choosing the right carrier for you and your little one. So welcome, Tatum. And I feel like before we delve in, I should caveat with this in that those of you that see us, I'm wearing an Ergobaby Aura wrap. This is the Aura wrap, isn't it? So I purchased this with my first son, so like 3 years ago now. This is in no way affiliated to Ergobaby. I bought it, and it is something that I have used on the podcast for pretty much 3 years solidly. Whenever I've had a baby and I've been recording, they've always been in this. So I feel like it's almost a feature now of Midwife Pip podcast, but it feels really organic to then be talking to you from Ergobaby whilst I'm wearing it. But I thought I'd caveat it, and then I promise it wasn't a special uniform just for this episode.
Joining us, but he's there.
Yeah. He always joins me because, as you know, as a mum of 2, life just has to carry on, and sometimes just putting them on you and cracking on is the best way for everybody, isn't it?
Absolutely, hands-free all the way.
Yeah.
Doesn't it just it feels like a t-shirt, like it just
a big cuddle. It's like a hands-free cuddle, isn't it? And I think that's probably why they love them too.
Yes, definitely, so snuggly and warm.
They're my favorite. So this definitely leads, and actually I should say it's been used by my friends in between. When Vinny outgrew it, it's been lent to a couple of friends as well. So it's a very worn wrap, but very loved. Yes. And I guess it kind of leads us into one of the first things that I wanted to unpick with you. For people that are like, perhaps first baby, looking at all the things that you are often marketed quite heavily once the world knows you're pregnant and you hit that algorithm online, there is so much that you get bombarded with. And sometimes baby carriers can kind of fall into that remit. So as an expectant parent, you're kind of unpicking, well, is this an essential? Do I need this? What's actually going to be most helpful? Where shall I, spend my energy researching and spend my money purchasing items? What are some of the benefits that you talk to parents about, Tatum, for using a baby carrier? I know I've just said that it's essential to my life just for being able to do everything, but what do you find parents find them really helpful for in general?
Well, baby wearing has so many benefits, it's actually difficult to know where to start. So if you start
Mm,
from the very beginning, carrying is a very normal behavior within the human species. Babies are very vulnerable at birth, so holding them and keeping them close, carrying them is a very natural part of our being. They're also very clingy, which is
mm,
a good in the good sense of the word. They want to be on you and they want to be close. So using a carrier or a wrap gives you the benefit of that closeness, the hands-free time together to do things or not do things, just to sit and be
mm,
close. It's proven to be great for both the mother and the father, the partner, to carry and wear baby, both for mental and physical well-being. There are many studies that show the positive impacts of wearing a baby. Um, it reduces crying, things like colic, keeping them upright. There's so many benefits, and
mm.
bodies were made to carry. We naturally hold babies close.
My brand new book, Midwife Pip's Guide to a Positive Birth, is now available. So much more than a book, this is a guide that allows me to hold your hand through your birth preparation journey. With over a decade of experience and knowledge packed in to ensure you really are empowered in the way you deserve to achieve a positive birth, regardless of the twists and turns that crop up. Make sure that you get your hands on Midwife Pip's Guide to a Positive Birth book now and are empowered to have the birth experience that you deserve.
There's a
So
lot of
true.
benefits.
Yeah, it's so true. And I feel like I've often, maybe selfishly, but not in a bad way, but I've often used baby wearing so that I can. And then we were discussing this before we recorded. When you have two children and you've got one little one that still requires lots of play and attention, actually, I've used it as the case of, right, baby's happy on me. Now I can play with my firstborn, or I can make dinner or podcast and do all those things I need to. So it benefits me. But
Yes.
actually, it quite clearly benefits them massively because my boys, whenever they've been, upset, had funny tummies, needed that little bit of extra TLC, the comfort of just being placed on you and then secured. So they're comfortable. And whether that's that they then go for a walk with them and they get that nice movement that's so soothing, or, just sat, like you say, sat with a cup of tea, cuddling you, I have found that benefit for them must be massive as well for that kind of brain development. Probably, I imagine, similar to that of skin to skin that we hear so much about benefiting babies. Actually, you can really recreate that, I think, with carriers as well.
Yeah, getting them used to the world, the sounds and being out and about, but also while being really close to you is really important. Some parents really love having baby on them in a space that somebody can't take them off you. So when
Yes.
you're out and about and you've got your carrier on and you're at a gathering or with your family and people you love, and you know that they're going to want to ask to hold baby, but when they're on you in a carrier, sorry, they're asleep, they're comfortable, you can't.
Yeah. I
So
love that. I
yeah,
absolutely love that. We have definitely used that to our advantage many a time. A similar benefit I always say to breastfeeding, and then they have to come back to you for milk.
yeah,
It's the same, isn't it? If you do know you're going to be somewhere busy. But also it means that if you are somewhere busy, you constantly know they're safe and then you can enjoy yourself a little bit more as well. And we've done lots of toddler birthday parties with little Alfie because life carries on, doesn't it, when you've already got one? And we've done exactly that, had him in the carrier, especially when there's lots of snotty little people around. It's really nice to be like, we're safe, we're just gonna do our thing and not have to worry.
yeah. And I we spoke earlier, Maverick is 3.5, so he still loves a nap in the carrier.
I love
He's been napping in the carrier since 2 days old. Um,
that.
and even now he will ask to go in the carrier for a nap in the tunnel. So some carriers have a privacy hood and he calls that the tunnel, because it makes it
Oh,
and cozy for him. And he's massive now, he's a lump. And he's still within carrier weight limits, but he just loves a nap in the and that just shows that that's something to him that's so special and he likes to be close to me. And even though he's so massive and he's not the stinky baby, it's so nice to still have that closness with him.
mm.
this
Oh my
age.
goodness, so nice. So I did carry Finley still in his carrier until I was in my first trimester with Alfie. And then I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't wear this massive toddler at the moment. But he still napped in his. And actually, I've got this picture of us in IKEA when he was probably, I don't know, two and a little bit. And he's in the carrier and he's asleep on me. And I think that's probably the last time he slept in the carrier. And it felt so precious. And I remember my husband just looking at me like, you're loving this, aren't you? And I was like, yes. Because, like you say, when they get bigger and, they're not in your care sometimes 7 days a week all the time, or you're there napping in their cot and life kind of goes back to a new sense of normality, you don't get all those contact naps that you did when they were little. So I think they just feel even more precious when they get bigger. And I don't know what your boys are like, but Finley will come for a cuddle, but then he's gone. Like he's gone again in 30 seconds. So actually, those moments when he actually cuddled and slept and I could kiss his head, oh, I totally get it. It's beautiful.
Oh my, yeah, my oldest is very snuggly and cuddly, and Maverick's a bit more like, here's a kiss, and I'm running away.
Yeah, I'm off now. I'm busy. There's things to do, things to do. I'm busy. Yeah, definitely having
Yeah.
that closeness. Oh, it's just lovely. It's
There's
so nice.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of benefits from baby wearing, and there are many places that you can go and read about them. There are loads of baby wearing educators, experts, consultants, and sling libraries in the UK especially, and they share a load of beneficial information. So there's a number of accounts you can find and follow to really understand, that side of things, and it's really interesting some of the things they share. So I definitely
Yeah.
recommend checking some out.
And like you say, it's old, right? Baby carriers have been around in different forms for forever, like forever. I remember being on holiday in Vietnam. Sure, yeah, Vietnam. We were in the Sapa Hills, me and my husband, pre-children. Like feels like an entire different life pre-children, doesn't it? And we were out hiking, and the women of the tribes had their children on them of all different sizes, ages, often carrying two at once in all sorts of various wraps and carriers, navigating these like crazy hills and mountains. And I was like, this is like the traditional way of
And
mothers bringing up their children, isn't it? Like we're just creating almost a modern day version.
yes, definitely. It's definitely been going for centuries.
And one of the things we just mentioned, which I think is probably really interesting for people looking to invest in a carrier for their family, is I think some of the safety features is really important. But one of the other things I wonder whether you could touch on as well, Tatum, is finding a carrier that's going to give you that longevity. So like you say, carrying a 3-year-old versus a 2-month-old and kind of how that can look. But
Yeah.
would you mind kicking us off with some kind of key safety features that parents should look at when they are choosing a carrier?
Yeah. So obviously baby wearing safety is it's incredibly important, and we need to make sure we're carrying properly. And most of the carriers you'll find they will be safe. It's just about how you wear them and how you
Mm.
position baby. So there are a number of resources available around safety in carriers, but we like to talk about the ABCs of baby wearing. So A stands for airways, B is body position, and C is comfort. So those are the three things you should look for when you're looking for a carrier. And the best way to actually look for a carrier, if possible, is to go to a sling library and try them on.
Mhm.
When you're just looking online, like you said, you're getting sold and marketed all these images and videos, but that's not you and that's not your baby.
And your
So
body, right? So
exactly.
important.
So when it comes to airways, we want the airways always to be clear and visible. You need to make sure that the carrier never comes up over the back of baby's head, kind of covering the nape of the neck. The nape of the neck or the middle of the ear is kind of the highest we'd say. And because the reason for that is that we need baby to be able to move their head back if they need to breathe. Um, so that's a perfect position for the top of your carrier to end, nape of the neck. And having them at a height that's kissable, especially in the early days, just means you can feel that air, you can see them really nice and easily. So airways is really, really important. You need to have them close enough to kiss, and the airways need to be visible and clear. Body position, so babies are naturally quite scrunched up when they're born, especially when they're really dinky. So in the carrier, we want to keep them in their natural and optimum positions. So this is a lovely curved J shape of the spine. We don't want any straightening of the back, anything like that in especially small babies. And we want their legs in that ergonomic M shape where their legs are higher than their bum, so their natural position for their hips, especially in those early days. As they get a bit bigger, their legs can be a little bit lower. So their bottoms need to be quite deep in the carrier to get that M shape and that nice natural curve shape of the back. And this is a natural and safe way to carry. You sometimes see babies straight backs and legs dangling down, and that's sadly that's not safe. It's not a safe way to carry babe. So as I mentioned, most carriers are safe. It's just how you carry and how you position baby in there. And then the last one would be comfort. So comfort's really important for both you and baby. And this is everything to do with how you fitted the carrier to yourself and to your baby. So
Yeah, and that's a really good one, isn't it? Because I remember with our first, I had, the carrier and I had Finley in and it was all great. And then my husband went to put it on and it just looked uncomfy. It looked awful. And we had to completely readjust it all to fit
yes,
him and baby. Because like you say, our bodies are so, so different.
yeah,
And I think that education piece, and that's probably where, a sling library comes really into its own, so that you can be educated on correctly fitting that carrier to your body at the beginning. So then
yes,
you've got that safety information because you do, don't you? You do often see with the best will in the world that actually babies are in a position that looks like probably not great for their spine and their hips or their neck.
yes,
And actually, if you have that bit of education at the beginning, you then got that confidence as well. And I think often baby carrying is confidence as well for parents. I think when you build that confidence, you can then really use them to their full potential. But to start with, it does feel a bit like alien that you're holding the baby, but you're not actually holding them.
no,
And I
I know.
know when I first used one with Finley, I'm sure I had him in the carrier, but was actually like holding his, head and his bum still as if he was in my arms.
Gonna fall out.
It is like that, isn't it? Like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Whereas if you've got that little bit of kind of confidence and backup, even if, like you say, you've been gifted a carrier from somebody or you've
Yes.
purchased one, then go and just get a little bit educated about how should I wear it?
Exactly, and pre-love carriers are great
Mm.
and they're sometimes a little bit more comfortable because they have been used. So just bear in mind if you've bought a brand new carrier, it probably is going to feel a bit stiff, whether it's a wrap, a ring sling, a carrier, it's probably going to feel a bit stiff until you've used it a few times. And it's as a new parent, all of those new things you do can feel scary, whether it's making a bottle or changing a nappy. So
Mm.
putting on a carrier or a wrap is going to feel a little bit, but once you've done it a few times, you've got it.
Yeah.
It's really easy.
It's
So
so true. It's so
yeah,
true. I remember seeing when I was pregnant, people confidently put like toddlers or babies in carriers and being like, wow, they look
yeah,
like super mum. Like they just put their baby on them and strapped them in and off they went. Like I want to be able to do that. And I remember thinking like, my God, it feels like that's really technological and challenging. But like you say, once you've done it once, you're like, oh, it's like the easiest thing in the world. That's the
and
secret.
that's yes, and the more you know how comfortable you should feel and how they should feel, the easier it will be for you to be, oh, need to tighten that, or that feels a bit, and
Yeah.
that's what's really important. And as you mentioned with your partner, when you swap between caregivers, it's really important you adjust it to your body because it's not going to be the same.
Yeah,
Some,
definitely. And your
some,
clothing as well. I've found recently because the weather is like up and down and sideways, isn't it? If I'm wearing a t-shirt compared to if I've got like a jumper on with a carrier, I have to completely adjust it. I feel like, oh, I've lost some weight today, but actually it's just like I've taken a layer off and I have to kind of tighten it all in. So, like you say, it's just taking that little micro check that might just take moments, but it allows you and baby to then be so much more comfy.
Definitely. And on that note of what you're wearing, that's another key point when it comes to comfort and safety. So we need to remember that both our bodies and the carrier are an extra layer for baby. So that's
Mm.
two extra layers, as well as yourself. So baby and the carrier is two extra layers for you too. So just making sure that you're dressed comfortably for wherever you are. And this time of year, when the temperature seems to drop, we tend to see people putting on snowsuits and sleep suits, and these aren't ideal in carriers
Yeah.
because they can cause overheating, which is something we really need to be mindful of. Sleep suits as well can also pull on baby's toes. So ideally, we want
Mm.
leggings and little sockies or booties or sleep suits with open feet if possible, because
Mm.
pulling on the toes can really be uncomfortable for babes. And we want them in the most optimal, most comfortable position that it's not impacting them whatsoever, only
Yeah.
beneficially because they're on your body and they're close to you.
That's such a good point. Thank you for raising that. So yeah, we talk loads about safe sleeping, and it's something we've covered on the podcast. But actually, often babies will sleep in a carrier, so that overheating aspect is really important. And when we're going outside and it's cold and we're putting on our layers, it's so tempting, isn't it, to pile layers on them as well.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. We've
Hello.
we've we've got a grumpy Alfie this morning. I did pre-warn
Yes.
Tatum. We're on cold number 500. So we're we're a bit grumpy.
Close to
But
mum, so he's happy.
exactly. But yeah, like you say, that's a really important consideration that actually you are a layer as well. So don't be tempted to overheat them.
Yes. And on the note of sleeping, just to move
Mm.
on to that, when you have an active baby in your carrier and they're alert and they're awake, they're a little bit more looking around, as they get a bit bigger. When they sleep, they tend to slouch a little bit more. So I always like to remind parents to maybe rejig the carrier once they're asleep because they might have been at the perfect position whilst awake, but as they sleep, they kind of drift a little bit further down into the carrier. So a really good point to just kind of lift up your waistband, tighten slightly while they're sleeping because their body composition changes a little bit versus being actively awake and asleep. So just
Mm.
to
That's a
note.
good point. I've often had to like pick his bum up and do a little shift because he ends up more on one side and then my back's like pulling as well. So yeah, taking note of what's feeling a little bit funny and adjusting always. So you talked a little bit then about wraps, rings, I think you said.
Things.
Ring sling, that's it, and carriers. Talk to me about some of the different types because it can feel a little bit overwhelming, can't it? If you do a quick search of baby carrier, it suddenly opens up like this whole box of
There are
options.
there are loads, and the best way to describe it is they are best suited to you and your lifestyle. There's so many. So there are so many carriers, ring slings, different types of wraps. There's from structured to soft structured to elastic to stretchy. There's a lot. And my best piece of advice would be to speak to a sling library if you've got one close to you who will have all of this variety because you're very rarely going to find a brand who does all of them. So, for
Yeah.
example, at Ergobaby, we have a mix of soft structured carriers, elastic or stretchy wraps, and a hybrid between the both, which is an embrace carrier, which is in between a soft structured carrier and a wrap, which is
Yeah.
great. But in
Mhm.
terms of all the other ones, which are great choices, woven wraps, ring slings, definitely head to Sling Library or visit a Sling Library's page and you can see all of their videos on there on the different types of carriers and what they use it for.
We are just taking a quick pause to share some key safety information. Shockingly, new research reveals that E. coli was found in 56% of babies' bottles. There is lots of feeding advice out there, whether it is breastfeeding or bottle feeding. And one potentially life-saving aspect that's often overlooked is how to effectively sterilize your baby's feeding equipment. It is really easy for feeding equipment, such as bottles or breast pumps, to become contaminated with harmful microbes, as milk, breast, or formula are an ideal breeding ground. A baby's immune system is still developing during the first 12 months, making them more at risk of becoming very sick. I recommend the Milton cold water sterilizing method to new parents. It has been used by hospitals, midwives, and healthcare professionals for many years, and I've used it personally with my boys too. The Milton method is a really easy, effective way to effectively protect your baby from harmful germs or bacteria. Milton has a wide range of great sterilizing and cleaning solutions to use at home or when out and about, helping you protect what's precious. No, that's really helpful to understand there's such a wide range. And are there any certain types? I mean, you might only be able to advise on Ergobaby because that's where probably your product knowledge is most at the moment. Are there any certain types that you think give that best longevity? Because I'm conscious we've talked a little bit about carrying our toddlers and our babies. Are there any kind of things to look out for or features that will make them kind of last a little bit longer for families?
So obviously weight limits on the carriers that you buy are really important to take notice of. Some are suitable from newborn and some aren't suitable till 3 months. And you see people buying the carrier suitable from 3 months old, but using it with a newborn. So that's really important to keep that in
Mhm.
mind. You will find carriers that are only for the early days, like our Embrace carrier at Ergobaby. It's suitable until around 9 or 10 months before you probably need to move to a more structured carrier.
Mhm.
Um, but there are loads of different options available that will give you that longevity. In the same breath, though, there's nothing wrong with getting an early day carrier and then either selling that on, passing it on, and then getting your next stage carrier because there's different types that will suit you for different moments in your life. So in those beginning days at home, a stretchy wrap or an embrace might be perfect for the snuggles and the warmth at home. But as they get bigger, you might want something more structured where they can go on your back. And they can go on your back in a wrap, but in a different kind of wrap, like a woven wrap or a ring
Mm.
sling. So it really depends on your lifestyle, what you'll be using it for. And I think where possible, it's great to have a range of carriers if possible. And that's why, again, plugging them in again, but sling libraries are great because you can hire different carriers throughout the different stages.
That's a good tip. And like you say, sharing, sharing with friends is great, and I think often as mums, it's something that we're probably doing more and more with like, oh, you've just had a boy. I've got all these newborn boy clothes in my attic, Do you want to use them? Like, actually, it's really nice to build that kind of community as well and share these items. Otherwise, let's be honest, if you finished using something or your child's outgrown it, it's just collecting dust.
I
So
know.
it's great to be able to sort of try that. I remember trying on some friends before we chose ours with our first,
Yeah.
just like you say, to see what was going to work. And
Yeah, it is word of mouth, isn't it? Like your friends saying, oh, this brand, oh, it's the best. And you try it, and it either just doesn't fit your body, which could then potentially put you off, but just try a different one. Like
yeah.
it's like jeans, like they will fit us all differently. Um,
Mm.
exactly that. So but when it comes to choosing a carrier, I think ergonomics and comfort are probably the two things you need to really look out for, as well as ease of use. Because if you're going to be on your own, you need to know how to kind of put it on and take it off alone, which a lot of carriers you can do. You can do that with. All of the carriers you can do that with. It just takes a bit of practice.
Oh yeah, definitely one that you can do yourself because the whole idea
Yeah.
is it makes your life easier. So if you suddenly need a second body and it's a bit like putting flat pack furniture together, then it's not going to be sustainable. But I love what you said about actually if you try one and it doesn't work for you, it doesn't mean carriers aren't for you. It just means you probably haven't found the right one. So actually exploring different options is a really, really great idea. I could talk about carriers all day because it's just a game changer. It's like the default, isn't it? If something's not working for our children, it's like pop them in a carrier, life will be better, everything will carry on, and we'll all be solved. Um, would you mind sharing with us, Tatum? So everyone that comes on the podcast, I always ask for three top tips. So I wonder if you could share three top tips to expectant or new parents listening who are kind of wondering about getting a carrier or how to choose the right one for their family.
Sure. So I thought about this for a while because I was like, what am I? There's so many.
So
But
I
I think
know it's always such a hard question because it's like you
yeah,
could give 303.
I know. It's in this industry, but when it comes to baby carriers and baby wearing, I think my first top tip will be you don't always need to fork out for a brand new, super expensive carrier.
Mm.
Sling libraries are a great place to try both carriers as well as hire them. And friends, family, you can purchase pre-loved carriers. What we do say though is once you've chosen a carrier, be sure to either buy it from the brand itself, a Sling Library, or at least a reputable retailer. And if you are sourcing it pre-loved, get a receipt to prove that it was bought from a reputable retailer, just so you know, and you can take advantage of the warranties and get support with your purchase through the brand, because sadly there are some carriers out there that are faked or not the real deal. So you don't need a brand new carrier. The carriers can be an investment and they're a great investment and they hold their value and they last for years. In Ergobaby, we have a 10-year warranty on our carriers. So
Mm.
anything that goes wrong will help you replace and fix in those 10 years, which is amazing. And that's why they're great to pass on and pass along. But yeah, doesn't always need to be brand new. Go to a sling library, hire a couple of carriers before you choose the one that you want, and just make sure you're getting it from a reputable place. My second tip would be if you have a carrier and it feels uncomfortable, don't give up. Just before you throw it out or decide not to baby wear, try and adjust the fit, the shoulder straps, the back strap, the lumbar support, how high your waistband is, what you're wearing, what baby's wearing. It can all make such a big difference. So don't give up just because you feel like it's uncomfortable. Let's get the right fit and keep going. And on that note, if you baby wear and your baby doesn't like it the first few times, don't give up. just keep going. Babies love to be warm, but it could be that they feel a bit too restricted. It could be that they can't see. Just keep going. Don't give up. And my third and final tip would be, once you've chosen a carrier, follow the brand of the carrier that you've chosen, follow them on socials, see their reels, their top tips, their advice, their blog posts. They're sure to have blog posts because they're going to share some things that are useful to you and how to baby wear, along with those sling libraries and baby wearing consultants I mentioned. They're great to follow. So those would be my 3 top tips at the moment.
I love it. Immerse yourself in all things baby carrying and baby wearing, because there is so much to learn. And yeah, I absolutely love it. So thank you. Thank you for all that you do, Tatum, because I know how passionate you are about genuinely matching parents and babies and children with the right carrier to allow them to thrive in life. So thank you, because I know it is a mission of yours and something you're really passionate about. So we're very grateful for you sharing all your top tips today and educating us further on how we can choose that right carrier. And I think that key message that comes across is definitely, if you haven't found the right one, it's just that you haven't found the right one yet. So go and get educated, get support, and explore what might work better for you and your baby.
Absolutely.
Before I head off, I need to tell you something. 68% of you who listen to my show have not hit the subscribe button. So can you do me a favour? And if you've ever enjoyed listening, hit subscribe now. It makes a huge difference, helping me to keep bringing you episodes. And together, we can then reach and empower more women on this journey. If you are a pregnant or newly postpartum listener and are looking to have the healthiest, most positive and informed journey, then my exclusive Your Pregnancy and Your Postnatal Journey courses may be for you. I work with a select number of women in a bespoke way, with unlimited access to me and my expert team for the most transformative level of support at this important time in your life. We only get one shot at getting this time right. So to get in touch and find out more, head to midwifepip.com.
Hi, I'm Sam Baker and welcome to The Shift, the podcast that aims to tell the no-holds-barred truth about being a woman post-40.
Anyone that's worried about turning 40, I say hurry up and get here. This is where the party is. This is the good place.
Created and hosted by me, journalist and author Sam Baker. I started The Shift because I was so tired of the absence of older women's voices.
3 little injections around my eyes and suddenly I was like, oh, I just got the last year back. I'm not trying to look 30. I just want to look 42.
Where had all the women over 40 gone?
You know, nobody ever gets addicted to kale. You get addicted to things that kill you.
So I created The Shift to make a space to talk about everything from life, love, sex, to careers, confidence, mental health, menopause.
So, I mean, seriously, if you want to walk about in your pyjamas for the rest of your life, we're invisible.
Each episode I speak to an inspiring woman about her shift, the second half of our lives.
I feel very strong and think I genuinely don't care what anybody thinks of me. And that does come with age.
Join me every Tuesday, wherever you listen to your podcasts.